Well, Michael Lynk is a former UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in the occupied Palestinian territories. He joins us now from London in Ontario, Canada, to talk about human rights abuses in Gaza. Michael, welcome to the programme. I just want to start off by getting your assessment of what's happening in Gaza right now, especially in Rafah.
Well, we know that this has been called back in January by the International Court of Justice a catastrophic humanitarian situation. It's only gotten worse. If we've been grieving over the images that we've been seeing over the last 7 months, this surely has to be the worst of it, with respect to over 360,000 Palestinians huddled in Rafah, now trying to flee elsewhere, with the UN leadership saying that there is no safe place in Rafah or in Gaza. Where they may be fleeing to likely has no food, no sanitation, no fuel, no shelter, no medical care. So all of this is creating what was a catastrophic situation to something much, much bad, much worse.
Michael, we heard in the past few hours the US saying that it does not view the killings of Palestinians in Gaza by Israel as genocide. Your reaction to that comment?
Sure. I think the U.S. is well aware of the potential human rights and humanitarian violations committed by Israel in this war. Even the United States is now beginning to notice that Israel is conducting its war in violation of international law and against the modern norms of morality. When it comes to genocide, I mean, we are talking about the country, the United States, that has been supplying Israel with enormous amounts of weaponry during the past 7 months. There is a piece in the 1948 Genocide Convention, Article 3, which prohibits complicity in genocide. So if you've been supplying a country which is potentially committing genocide through all these months with its armaments and providing as well diplomatic shelter, notwithstanding what the International Court of Justice said was a plausible genocide in January, and what my successor, Francesca Albanese, as UN Special Rapporteur, said in March in her report to the Human Rights Council as genocide, then the issue of complicity then hangs heavy.
Michael, I'll just stop there on that word of genocide, because it is so sensitive and so loaded. But I just want to ask you about what's happening in Rafah right now. The US again has warned that a major military operation in Rafah would be a mistake. But what would you describe what's happening right now there? There are attacks that are intensifying. The border crossing with Rafah on the Palestinian side has been closed. I spoke to a doctor now in Gaza. The Gaza Health Ministry saying that the health system is about to collapse within hours. What is that?
Well, look, we know that through the Israeli control of the Rafah crossing, and it's obviously its own crossing at Karim Shalom, that very little, if any, humanitarian supplies are getting in, not even certainly not to the north, where it's already been declared to be a famine in the northern part of Gaza, where we have 300,000 to 400,000 Palestinians gathered, but for the almost 2 million Palestinians gathered in the south and south central part of Gaza, the UN has told us that there's something like between 24 and 36 hours of supplies left with regards to food, fuel, and medical supplies. This is going to be an extraordinary humanitarian disaster if more fuel and food doesn't get in, and if this offensive by Israel continues to widen and deepen. It's hard to imagine how far Israel's image in the world has fallen, and the United States is realizing that its image is being dragged down as well with respect to this. These images of suffering are almost unbearable to watch, and yet the war continues. We must remember that the United States has significant control over what is happening. If Joe Biden would say this war stops now, this war would stop now, given that the only reason for Israel's ability to continue with it has been the diplomatic and military arms shelter being given to it by the United States.
Indeed, the US is the superpower. Michael Lynk, former UN Special Rapporteur, thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise with us here at TRT World.
Thank you very much
Appreciate
for
it.
having me.
Thank you.